now.
Okay, cool. Dude, I'm so happy that we're getting
Some shit.
some shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you look at the amino document?
I haven't had a chance to do that yet. I'm gonna do it today
Okay.
after the stream.
Did they send it? I don't see it anywhere. I was looking for it.
They sent it as a different email. It's like one of those evites to sign. You know that companies like to use.
Yeah, I saw that, but I didn't see the link. Maybe.
Oh really? Maybe they forgot to attach. But I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, so I'll look at it in a sec.
Let's see. They seem really legit.
Yeah, I'm down.
They seem cool. They seem nice. They seem professional. And I should probably check out their platform.
Yeah.
Should probably check it out. It's like a phone app, right?
Yeah. It's I mean it's just like a more like mobilized, like hip version of an image board essentially.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. It's like basically it's like Reddit essentially, where there's just like a bunch of subreddits or like subtopics. It's kind of like a bunch of Tumblr blogs, to be honest, but it's just all on your phone, and they want us to do like video content for that, try and get people to watch Dota stuff there. So I mean, sounds good to me. You know, as long as they're gonna pay us.
Yep.
What up, chat? How you guys doing today?
I'm opening up chat. I haven't had a chance. You've just been blabbing.
Yeah, sorry. I've been too excited about how I'm not depressed and you're not depressed and life is good.
Yeah, it's pretty nice to not be depressed. You know what? I saw something on Reddit today that possibly would have depressed me.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you. Do you ever go on Reddit and you go to like one of the threads where people are like shitting on Henry, and kind of as like, let me know if you hear yourself echoing. By the way, I'm putting you through speakers.
Yeah, I don't currently.
But you know, you go on Reddit and you see people like kind of shitting on Henry, but then they do it in a way where it's like, okay, even though you know you don't like the guy, it's still so visceral to be just negative in such a way. But in order to like back it up, they put some argument where like tier 2 players are like degenerate losers, so it doesn't matter or something. Like people always seem to like shit on like what Henry does,
yeah,
as a way to like as in he's like a Dota 2 streamer guy, you know, like people shit on that existence as a way to like shit on him.
Right.
And it's always in a way that like doesn't make any sense to me. Somebody was like, you know, I was thinking about all of these, and obviously I'm biased in this because this is me, but it's like all these tier 2 Dota pros, like, you know, 5 years from now when Dota's dead, they're not going to really have anything. They're not going to have any skills in life, and it's the most important period of your life to grow and develop your career. And I was just thinking, like, you motherfucker, what makes you think that your view on what makes a fulfilling or successful life is correct?
Yeah.
Like, what is it about that idea of going and working and building some career in, I don't know, finance or something, which is fine. I think that's a fine way of looking at it. But an example that I used with Ellie is like, imagine if you were somebody who like built houses in Africa for people that needed it, some shit like that. Like you just did charity work for like 2 to 3 years. What do you have at the end of that? You haven't furthered your career in any way. Let's say you're just a software developer and you want to go do that for 2 to 3 years. Is that 2 to 3 years wasted? Absolutely not. That is,
yeah, it's life experience. It's like opening your horizons, changing how you think.
Exactly. I think many people would agree that that is an incredibly fulfilling, successful, amazing thing to do. But for some reason, when it comes to like this, it's just like a Dota 2 Reddit thing because they're so toxic.
No. It goes deeper than that. It's definitely like a gaming stigma thing. Like, I mean, I even still have like preconceived biases that were put in me by my parents and by like their parents about gaming and like wasting your time in video games. Like even now, that's like a lot of where my sort of like self-doubt comes from, is the fact that sometimes I'm like, why am I spending so much time playing games? Like, because this is something that was told to me over and over and over. Video games are a waste of time. Video games are a waste of time. Video games are a waste of time. And it's like, you know, you hear that enough times, you're gonna kind of just like internalize it, whether you want to or not, whether you believe otherwise. And so when
It's
I'm having like a shitty day or like losing a bunch, feeling I'm not going anywhere, feeling like my videos suck, I'm just like, oh, this is just a waste of time, like my parents said it was. And it's like, you know. But then we get these comments from people who are like, dude, you are not only making me more happy playing Dota, but more happy in my life because I'm listening to your just like organizational advice or just like how you treat other people. And that kind of stuff is like, oh, okay, I actually am doing something more than just gaming. Like this community is like a home for people. And that's pretty fucking cool, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, I know how it is because like there are there are YouTubers that I watch that I feel like I was part of part of something that a lot of the time didn't really even relate to like the uh I guess like whatever the
Like the game itself.
Sorry?
Like the game itself.
Right. Like for us, it's like the game, but for these other YouTubers, like I followed this guy called The Amazing Atheist, and it wasn't like I believed in like his political opinion or his like he had very visceral opinions on things, right? So it's hard to just be like, oh, I agree fully with this, but I just liked him. I just liked watching it. I liked just being one of the people that watched it. I don't watch it anymore because I mean, I was like super edgy as a teenager, but I did, and it wasn't like about atheism or something like that. It was just felt good. I don't know. It's just something I did. It was just it's something that I identified with.
Sure.
And yeah, that definitely feels good. But you can just the thing is like depending on the day, you can have a completely different outlook where you can use like minimizing language, I should say. I guess both words work, but you can use minimizing language with literally everything and make everything seem like it's just nothing. Like the same language that guy used on Reddit to shit on being a tier 2 player or tier 2 streamer, you could use the exact same language to shit on going into like finance. Like, oh, you're just gonna crunch numbers for your entire life? You're gonna work in a fucking dead ass gray office and want to kill yourself when you're 60 because you didn't do anything with your glory years. You didn't go out and party. You didn't go travel. You didn't do all of this when you like I can use the exact same negative and minimizing language to shit on literally fucking anything. You can shit on being a doctor in the same way. You can shit on being a lawyer in the same way. It's just you just pick and choose the negatives of the thing it is that you want to shit on, because there are negatives with everything. There are absolutely negatives. It's like, what the fuck? You built houses in Africa? Like, isn't there like machines to do that? Like, why would you waste your time? You weren't like building a career. Like the same logic works for everything. Everything.
Yeah, people just get aggro about whatever the fuck
it's
gets them off at the time.
The bottom line, in my opinion, is just as long as you feel like you're doing something fulfilling, fuck everybody else, man.
Totally.
Fuck everybody else.
Totally.
Because there are so many ways of being fulfilled. Some people it's like family. Some people it's contributing to the world. Some people it's academia. They want to write papers. I personally like creating value. I want to make this like coaching app. And I'm actually like, people had to convince me, I mean, as you know, to like take commission on the money that goes through like the app, because I wasn't doing it as a business. I just wanted something people would genuinely use. And I don't mean that as like I'm so humble and sick way. I mean that literally gets me off knowing that I've created value. That's a selfish, narcissistic thing. It's just like veiled at it's not the same selfishness as like I want money. It's like I want people to need my shit. That's what I want.
Right.
And that fucking gets me off. Like when I was a kid, I just wanted to have businesses and all of these things where people would come to me and I'd be the guy to go to get this shit done. You know what I mean? That makes me feel valuable. That's what I like.
Totally. I mean, that's the good shit, because at least your like narcissistic tendencies are like constructive in the way that they like structure your life,
so.
Like, I mean, because some people have narcissistic tendencies where they're just like, I want everybody to just give me all the attention without any
no work.
reason.
With no work. Like
right?
I want to put no work into something and just get shit back because I'm so great.
Right.
Bug in my room. For fuck's sakes, man. I swear to God, ever since putting this air conditioner unit in, there's just been bugs galore getting in my room.
Yeah, that shit happens. You gotta tape off the seams, man.
I really do. I've never had one of these before.
They're fucking wonderful if you live in a confined space. Life
Yeah.
changing, in fact.
No, it's legitimately been life changing.
Yeah.
I think it's flying through the AC. Maybe I'm wrong. No, there's got to be a filter in there, right?
Dude, I never told you because I guess this is like when we first met online. It sounds like a dating app, but when we first like when I first talked to you, the first house that I lived in when I moved to Oregon and was working for Pugna for I was working for Game Leap for free and then working for Pugna in the early stages and like kind of just trying to hustle my way into esports.
Yeah.
I lived in this tiny fucking like 2-room house with cat and my dog and my cat, and my office was this tiny glass table that I got from a garage sale for like $2, and it was right next to the sunniest window in our house, which was on a fucking super busy street with no trees blocking it. And we had no AC because it's Oregon. Oregon doesn't have AC in most of their houses because it's so damp and cool here all the time.
Yeah.
But it gets to like 100 degrees during the summer regularly. Or like high 90s.
That's the same situation I'm in. I live in Ontario, which it gets very hot here. It's like 30 something degrees Celsius today, which would probably be close to like 100.
Right.
And fuck, if I didn't have this AC unit, it'd be absolutely brutal. And it was brutal even when it wasn't this hot. Like it just recently started getting this hot, and it's super tilting to play games.
Yeah,
it's just,
you're just like sweaty and you're just like uncomfortable the whole time. It's the worst.
Just feel bad.
Yeah, it's the
like,
worst.
Oh fuck yeah, I have a physical body. I forgot. This thing like has to be alive and not uncomfortable for me to do like digital stuff.
Yep. Yeah, but I remember just being so hot and just uncomfortable for 2 years of work, basically. When we moved to our new house, I was like, oh my god, I have a cool room where I can actually fucking sit on my computer.
Do your parents don't live in Oregon, do they?
No, they live in my hometown back
home. Okay, I was gonna say, because the only reason I have these AC units set up is because I was complaining to my dad, and he just comes in like a week and just buys one off of like the Kijiji, which is like the Canadian Craigslist. It's like, oh, I found a really great deal on this one. It's usually $600, but it's $250. He just gives me a $600 like AC unit because he just finds the deal. So he's like, I have to get this deal. And then he comes in and installs it in a day. And like all of a sudden I have AC. It's great. But, you know, I guess you have to have lived through it once where you don't have AC in a place that you probably should. And then you're like, fuck, that sucks.
Yeah.
Especially if you're working all day from like one room. If you're just sitting on your computer.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I get it now.
There are certain things like you should spend money on in life.
This is why this was invented.
That's why what?
This is why AC was invented. I understand now. It's not just for comfort. It's because it actually makes my life better.
Right. It's like your productivity goes up significantly.
Yeah.
Like that's the same thing with if you get decent sleep, your productivity goes up. That's why mattresses matter a lot.
Hell yeah.
It helps like back issues and posture. A good computer chair if you're sitting on your computer all day, which is why people are super into these like standing desks and shit nowadays. Like there are certain things in life where they kind of seem like luxuries to a lot of people, but to, I guess, specialized people or people who have dealt with like shit from not having certain products, they're not luxuries.
Yeah.
Like having a good bed. I legit have chronic back issues where I can't, you know, if I bend over more than like this, it can feel that my spine is about to snap. It's like bending, you know, your arm this way where it's not supposed to go. Yeah. That's how I feel with my spine bending normally. When it's a problem. Right. Thank God, thank fuck, man, that like my back issues are completely gone. But I think a big
out
reason
helps your life. And
right, working out and also sleeping in a comfortable large bed every night where I don't have my legs hanging off or something like that. And sitting in this chair is not bad, but my dad gave me this. It's like an old chair, but it's not. The other one that I had, it didn't even go up to my shoulders, so my back would kind of hang off like that. And it's just rough. It's just a rough life, man.
Yeah.
At a point, it's debilitating, literally debilitating.
Oh, for sure. Dude, I had this, it was actually funny because there was a younger kid. I think I was like 21, 22. I was talking to this, a friend of one of my good friend's brothers, so like his little brother, and this dude kind of like joined our friend group through that. And he was a guy who he had like lupus growing up, and he had a bunch of health issues and stuff. and he eventually solved them. Like I think he solved part of it through just like smoking a bunch of weed. Like it helped reduce the anti-inflammatory episodes and stuff like that, like CBD.
I hear that does help with inflammation.
Yeah, and so he was just like, I don't know. We were just like talking at some party or something like that. He's like, dude, the biggest thing I've learned in my entire life so far, and he was like 18, 19 at the time. He's like, he's like, you don't have to be in pain if you don't want to be. Like you can do stuff to fix it and then your life will get better, like
True.
essentially. And that's just the case. Like I noticed that if I'm not taking care of myself and like getting up, taking breaks from gaming, stretching, working out, my back starts to hurt, my legs get really tight, I just start feeling like shit, I start tilting more, everything gets worse, like I'm eating worse because my digestion's all fucked up because I'm sitting all the time. It's like such a snowbally thing, and you have to make
snowballs.
Sure it really snowballs.
You legit like have to take care of yourself in life. You actually do. I remember when I was a absolutely fucking moronic teenager, I thought I was like exempt from, like physical illness and mental illness and all of these things where you hear people struggling in managing, and I was like, fuck that, man. I'm not a bitch. I'm not a pussy. I don't need to manage any of this shit.
Yeah.
But no matter how much you believe it, you can't like be superhuman.
Yeah.
It's just you are human and you need to take care of yourself. Otherwise, like whatever it is that you care about, that's going to be super hindered. No matter what it is, like you're the one that's doing whatever it is you give a shit about. So
Yeah.
if the body that's doing it is not being managed, like you're gonna be fucked. You're not gonna be very productive. I guess maybe you don't measure life in terms of productivity, but I definitely that's definitely like a big measure for me. Is like how productive was I today?
Yeah, I mean, and one interesting thing about that is like, in comparison to other people, so I mean, here's the thing. I don't want to generalize everybody, but there are a vast majority of humans who don't manage that kind of stuff, and they just kind of accept like whatever's happening to them is just like that's just their life. Like if they're in pain, that's just their life. If they have gut issues, that's their life. If they're depressed, that's their life. They don't try to like go out and fix anything, right? And so in comparison to those people who are just kind of accepting of their circumstance, if you're actively trying to do stuff to better yourself, you are a superhuman. Like in comparison, you're like almost a different species of person. If you're like,
right, you can like look at it in two ways. You can look at it in a very negative way where like I'm stuck in this human brain, I'm going to be depressed forever, or you can look at it in a positive way where you're like, oh, I'm stuck in this human brain, but that means there are loopholes that I can get through to make myself feel better or make myself physically better. Like it's a game. It's a game you're playing with yourself, and there are constraints, but there are also like things and bugs that you can abuse in it. There are features and bugs, and if you're just looking at the negatives of a game and all of the constraints, and I hate how I have to do this in Dota and that in Dota, then it's gonna suck. But if you view the good things, it'll feel good. Or if you abuse bugs, like you'll play better. If you abuse tricks that people are doing, you'll play better. That's life, man. That's
Sure.
life. You have to abuse what you're given. You have good things in your toolkit to use.
Everybody does. Everybody.
And if you're just using a fucking hammer to slam in a screw, it's like, fuck, life sucks, man. This is shit. But if you're like, using that thing, we're all good. We're all fucking good.
It's true. It's all about how you approach it. All right, let's get into the questions. It's been a while since we talked, obviously, because we just went on a rant for 20 minutes. But, everybody who's tuned in, I'm sure some of them probably enjoy it. I know JCJ enjoys these. John fucking Callahan, the god himself.
Fucking John loves it. He's always posting his theories and shit in chat.
But, all right, here we go. Welcome to Alchemy Answers, episode 38. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you, as always, to our patrons for submitting the questions and supporting us. As always, we are going to be taking questions from them first. And if we have time at the end, we'll take them from chat. We've got a bunch of questions this week. People are feeling pretty active, feeling pretty inspired, perhaps, to get a little bit better at Dota for whatever reason. Maybe our good mood is rubbing off on our viewers. Who knows? Could that be?
I hope so.
that's
That'd be
the
great.
goal, right? Trying to
That's
spread a
gonna
little
that's gonna help me
positivity.
sleep at night. So we'll just say that that's how it is.
Beautiful. If you want your questions answered, you can go to www.patreon.com/Dota Alchemy, where there are a number of tiers, and one of them allows you to ask questions directly to us, interact with us on Discord, etc., and have access to some private Discord channels, which are still not being used correctly. Thank you very much, guys.
I feel like we need to name them differently. Just like name them.
Yeah.
This is for this. This is
probably.
for this.
I should probably change
Name
it
them
from
literally.
Alkluminati Assembly to questions
Submit
only, you
replays
fucks.
Only replay IDs.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Some shit like that.
Anyway.
All right. We got some questions. We got a lot of questions. First up, Annan Terra says, it's not really important, but I have a question about different regions. Oh boy, don't even get me started. Is there a noticeable difference in the skills of brackets between NA and SEA? I would say no, not in terms of just raw skill. It's just different. Like, people in NA are very good at farming. They're very good at like solo carrying games. I'm not 100% sure with SEA because that's the only server that I don't play a lot of. But I know that with EU, which I do occasionally queue sometimes, with EU, people are extremely like fight centric. Like they look to get active and to fight. And if you just split push and completely ignore and just farm, a lot of the time you'll just win games on EU as an NA player because people aren't used to somebody like hard farming and being incredibly far ahead at 30 minutes or something like that. And also, I actually saw Moon Meander play on EU the other day, and he went Midas, Shadowblade, Bloodthorn bots on Sven, and he was just running around solo killing people, and he was just laughing. He's saying like, "Oh man, these EU players, dude, the moment they think that they can't fight, they go to like hard split pushing style strategy, and you can just completely abuse that." So in NA, it's kind of the polar opposite, where people just don't fight at all. People just hit creeps and farm.
Right.
And if you don't do anything, like they're going to get huge and they're going to end the game. And typically, whoever has better late game will just win a lot of games in NA. But like I said, it's different. It's not necessarily one way or the other is better. It's just different. And I feel like a lot of people, they like conflate this difference as, oh, SEA is better than NA, or EU is better than NA, or NA is better than EU. Like it's always about being better. But I feel like it's just different.
Yeah, I think I've seen a few like Chinese pubs as well, just to bring them into it. And those ones, at least just the ones that I've watched from like the higher levels, they seem like they're almost playing like a pseudo like pickup game. Like, you know how so I don't know. It feels more like they almost have roles in Chinese games. Like they play the game almost in a sort of like pseudo competitive style to some extent, whereas like you said in NA you're just gonna have like the carry trying to solo carry, and EU you're gonna have a bunch of people trying to like outskill each other and outfight, and SEA I assume is probably something similar to
probably
EU
fighting,
style.
probably just fighting nonstop for no reason, like not even picking in
Right.
fights, probably just fighting from behind,
running at each other all the time.
Yeah.
And then in the Chinese region you have like this more sort of controlled style, which is and it's not just like a stereotype, it's like it legitimately is how they play the game.
When I was in China, it was absolutely ludicrous, and I don't know if it's still like this, but when I was there and playing pubs, I remember every game you could like predict exactly what was going to get picked because there was like a certain hero pick order in China. Like people just were like, you have to second pick Alchemist. You have to second, if we're second pick, you have to. And every game had the exact same 10 heroes, plus or minus like 2 or 3 heroes. It was fucked up. And it was like Alk wasn't even that great of a hero. It was just a mediocre, okay hero in NA pubs. And China's just like, oh, we have second pick. You have to pick Alchemist. Every single game. It was so weird. So I understand why they play. I'm pretty sure they play like single draft in China.
Yes.
So I actually understand why they do that, because it was fucking boring and shit to just play the same heroes every single time. People would be mad at you if you didn't pick the right hero. Imagine in NA, if people thought you have to pick this hero on third pick, you'd probably do it. You'd probably legit do it because you don't want your teammates to be fucking mad at you.
Yeah.
So I get why people play single draft, and it's interesting the difference in the regions. It's just difference in like culture, difference in mentality, how it's evolved in the tier 2 scene, and what their pros are doing, what people are doing on their streaming platforms. Like there's a lot to it.
Yeah, it's like a whole different subculture of like how the game is played and how it develops is pubs.
Yep. China probably is the biggest like difference in servers between any of the other servers, because China's so like cut off from the world in terms of like their internet. Their internet is like, I'm sure that leads to some weird shit going on.
For sure.
Okay, anyway, let's see. Any more questions here? Ananteris, boosting is definitely rampant, even in Archon. It's not standard in NA. That is standard in NA, actually. Lots of boosters. Lots of chat. Last Crusader says, would like to get 1 hour of coaching. Don't know where to post this. Jenkins. I'm not doing coaching right now, but if you want to be coached by my 6K girlfriend, I'm shooting over every coaching request I get to her. So she just did one, actually. Karthos says... that's there's a lot of chatter in here. Okay.
Yeah, I asked a question. Get your questions in, because there was like no questions before. There might have been one question before.
Wanting to know what is the most efficient. Okay, so Bullet Feta says, fingering. Are you a WASD middle finger on S person? I find keeping my index finger drifting to F, especially after a day of typing at work. Interested to find out where people bind item keys. I'm using 1 through 7 at the moment, wanting to know what most people think is efficient, or is there a no one-size-fits-all solution?
Hotkeys are interesting, man. I think it's extremely personal. Like, whatever's the most comfortable for your hand and how you're holding the keyboard and stuff like that. Like, who was that dude that used to play like with his hands like
jaw
like this or some shit
like that?
Yeah.
Literally like playing like that. I'm not even kidding. Like legit like that.
Yeah.
He's not like, he doesn't have the arm width that I do, but he would literally be sprawled out like that. He would need an entire usually in boot camps they use like the same cheap computer desk you can get from like IKEA, and it's huge, right? Usually what they do is they put like 2 or 3 computers on it. He had one. He had to have one completely to himself. Unbelievable.
It's so silly.
I'm a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 person, because I played a lot of World of Warcraft, and in World of Warcraft you've 12 billion keys that you have to press. So you would use all 1 through 9, F1 through F12, and then shift in all of those things usually.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm used to having my hand there. So naturally, that's what I did in Dota, even though it's probably totally unnecessary. But it is convenient, because all of my skills are numbers, and then items and everything else is just letters. So
right.
I don't know. I do kind of like that, but I honestly don't think it matters. I've seen so many people with so many different control schemes and hotkeys, and everybody believes theirs is the best, but everybody's a fucking idiot. Like, I swear to God, I've had so many like other like competitive players be like, dude, you have to switch this. This is so good. Like, this is fucking epic. And then you just see Arteezy, who is using like legacy keys or something, and then somebody else is using like their hand is by the enter key. Their left hand is by the enter key, and they're using like numpad or something like that. And everybody has their approaches, but it's like pseudoscience in my opinion. There are legit arguments to be made about using certain options in Dota.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is there are certain options that you should definitely try or have enabled, like some of the stuff that you've covered in videos. Quick cast, for example, is something that everybody should at least try. You don't have to use it, but you should definitely try it out. But yeah, I mean, we've made videos on hotkeys. Jenkins has a video on micro hotkeys. I have a video on how to build your hotkey setup, like based on what's comfortable for you, and I explain how I created mine. And I think a lot of it just comes from like what game you're coming from. I played a lot of FPSs and stuff like that, so what
we're talking about when it comes to hotkeys is basically the science of muscle memory.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I'm pretty sure when it comes to muscle memory, as long as you're not, extending your fingers like this or something stupid like that, it's all the same. It just depends on the science of muscle memory. If you really wanted to get into that, but I think the limiting factor is going to be something like ping. Like, you're going to have these other um, limiting factors that are going to limit you far before you're limited by where your fingers are on the keyboard. You know what I mean?
I mean,
I'm saying
unless you have like a combo that you need to pull off, like Blink Dagger, like BKB Blink Dagger, Blade Mail, or something like that on Axe, and your keys are like all underneath each other, so you can't actually hit them and like
physically impossible.
Yeah.
Barring that, I think the human brain is just very good at picking up these little micro mechanics on the keyboard.
Sure.
And even if you have one key right next to another one, and if you get your muscle memory even just half decent, you're never going to accidentally press something unless you're fucking tired that day or something. But in that case, no matter what the muscle memory is, it doesn't matter if it's a video game or Dota or whatever, your muscle memory is going to fuck up because that's just the nature of being tired and trying to do something with muscle memory.
Yeah, if you can type like remotely well, touch typing, whatever, you can definitely play any video game. Because if you think about what actually like touch typing, just like looking at your screen and being able to like transfer words and spaces and all that stuff and punctuation to a sentence without even looking at your hands, you can definitely play any fucking video game for sure.
Yeah, that shit was crazy in like the early 2000s, being able to do that.
Yeah,
I remember, like I was in like a computer class and everybody was like,
yeah,
like, dude, come on, man.
I mean, I don't even fully do it. I like glance down at my hands from time to time, but even that, it's like compared to hitting like 6 keys for a video game.
I don't think I glanced out. I've used the same keyboard for years though, for so long. I don't know. Anyway, Vasilios says Q&A. Do you think using the DotaPL.us? I hate that they just named themselves Dota Plus. That seems like a really terrible decision.
Is that actually a thing? I thought it was just a misspell. It's DotaPL.us.
I'm pretty sure it's literally Dota Plus.
Overwolf? I've literally never even seen this. I've heard people reference it. What the fuck is this? No.
Dota Plus. It's like an overlay for Dota.
Oh.
For like drafting and shit, which is cool. Why the fuck would you name it Dota Plus? You're literally competing with the company that made the game.
I think it was already named Dota Plus before, is the problem.
The site looks new, man. I just started hearing about this thing. They need to rename. This is bad. I mean, Valve is gonna shit all over this if this gets any track. Oh, approved by Valve.
Oh, interesting.
Valve is just like, well, nobody's gonna buy this because it's named the same. I just don't get this. I'm not saying anything about the actual like function of the application. I have no issues with what it does. It looks really good and professional, but the name fucks with me, man. I'm shocked. Anyway, I think it's ultimately bad in the long term since it's drawing from statistics to make drafting choices instead of experience from playing. I would say generally it's probably pretty decent. Generally speaking, like a large percentage of the time, the majority of the time. But I'd hate to pick to see like a percentage change where anti-mage gets like the counter spell, because no longer is like Bloodseeker counter to anti-mage. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. Bloodseeker can't really kill an anti-mage because he just presses counter spell with 50% uptime and just ruptures himself. Like I feel like this could fuck you over, and it's not going to be perfect, but it's not going to be like regular drafting. But it's good to have something like this to give you ideas where you can think like, okay, Undying, all right, that's bad against PL. Oh wait, they changed that in the last patch where the illusions do barely any damage to the tombstone. Now it works the other way around. Undying's really good in the laning phase against PL. Undying is good. Like it gives you ideas, and you can like draw from those ideas. But just allowing that to be your draft 100% definitely is the mistake.
Yeah, I don't like anything that takes thinking out of the process, because most of the time the AI is going to be wrong, like in quite a few niche scenarios, and you're just going to follow it. It's like Maybe it'll improve your draft. If you have no idea what you're doing, it'll improve your drafting. But if you've played like several hundred games of Dota, then you're probably better off just thinking about what's going on. I don't know.
I agree. I'm not a huge fan of these like tools for getting better at Dota generally. However, with that being said, I like anywhere you can like draw ideas from, as long as you're thinking after you draw the idea. I mean, I use Dota Buff while drafting to just get ideas of like what people are picking, what their win rate is, what position they're picking it in. But I wouldn't 100% stick to those statistics because, well, like certain things just certain things trend, certain things there's information that you could be missing too. So there's just a lot to it, and anything that like oversimplifies it's going to be a problem. But as long as you don't allow it to oversimplify it for you, it's fine. It's good. In fact, it'll give you ideas. Anything to give you ideas is good.
Sure.
Bradley Dragon says, do you feel that Earth Spirit in the pub scene is just a useless hero? Every single time I got one on my team, it's GG because he falls off and contributes nothing after like 10 minutes into the game. Literally any other hero acting as support does his job better. That sounds like you just have experience with like shitty Earth Spirits, because that's a good hero. That's a very good hero.
Yeah, I mean, for context, I believe Bradley is like sub 1000 MMR, so I imagine that a lot of those Earth Spirits are not very good, and that's just something that'll change as you climb up the ranks. Still, you're blaming something outside yourself for losing games, and that's your problem, and that's why you're at that MMR. So that's
You know what? If you do think a hero is genuinely bad and you don't want to see it picked, you can ban it.
Yep.
You can also suggest your team to pick certain things. Like if let's say you're an offlaner and you constantly have an Earth Spirit in your lane and you feel like the Earth Spirit's so fucking useless, then pick Sand King and suggest people to pick Zeus. Like, you want to take control of the game in any way that you can. You don't want to just say, oh, I always have Earth Spirits and this hero's fucking useless and he's ruining my games. You need to take control of having Earth Spirits in your game. You need to suggest pick to your team and pick combos, or pick shit that does combo with an Earth Spirit. Like, there are ways that you can control the situation as well. But just kind of saying that Earth Spirit is shit is not really going to help too much.
Agreed.
Justin Ash says, what are your tips on playing solo queue where your team consists of 4 egotistical carries while being a pause 5 support? I try my best to support, but it seems to work every time. I think he meant not work. I played with my ancient friends as their pause 5, and I really trying to implement what I have learned and play in that bracket onto the lower brackets. So I'm assuming he's just saying he's trying to implement what he learned playing with the ancient friends in his lower bracket in solo MMR. So fed up seeing my party MMR going up and my solo just drop dead. So you need to definitely like understand that solo queue and party queue are 2 completely different ball games. There are certain things that you can do in solo that won't work in party if the enemy team has any sort of communication going on between them, and there are certain things you can get in party that you can't get in solo queue. Like, let's say you're playing with an ancient player in party queue. That player might be good enough at Dota because they're ancient to say, hey, you go pull, man. Go pull now. Go do this. Go do that. I need you to do this. Like, they'll tell you how to win their game. And, if you're a support and you're enabling somebody's game, then you're doing your job. You're going to win more games. But if you're only enabling somebody's game because they're telling you to, you're not going to get that in solo queue. You need to actually know how to enable somebody's game. So it's hard for me to say because I don't know the dynamic that you guys have in your party queue game, but I assume it's very similar to when I party queue with my team or my friends, and it's like we communicate. We say shit to each other, like, you should go do this, you should go do that. And because it's a team game, that results in people who normally wouldn't be playing at that rating doing stuff that would make them play at that rating. So as long as you are doing the things in solo queue that you're being told to do in party queue, presumably, you will win more. It's just good Dota. But what I wager is probably happening is that you're having some like mental not like not like solo queue, but queue as in like somebody's like telling you to do something in these party ranked games, and you're doing it. Like, oh, we need vision here, we need this, we need that. Like, Dota's all about those decisions. And if you're making 2 to 3 less decisions like that because you're playing solo, that's like 500 to 1,000 MMR. I can't stress that enough. Dota's not about epic fucking mechanics and shit like that. It's literally just about deciding to go ward at a good time, deciding to place a ward on a shrine when they have somebody who farms a shrine, making one play where you call your team to go take Roche.
Yep.
Like, one single call, one single choice is what determines thousands and thousands of MMR. So you need to make sure you're doing everything in solo queue that you're doing in party queue. And I would imagine you're probably not, because that's really hard to do.
Yeah. The only other thing I would say is, like, another difference is going to be that the guys that you play with, they're obviously better players if you're playing an ancient bracket. So they're going to take advantage of stuff that you do as a support to get themselves a better game. Whereas if you are, placing aggressive wards, maybe trying to play around your team but not show and that kind of stuff, and your team is just letting the wave be pushed in solo queue, then you need to actually take on their jobs and start doing more jobs to have impact. So I think at low MMR, you should always just play more farm heavy as a support. You don't need to play more greedy, meaning don't go for like damage items, don't try to be a carry, but just take more farm, because it's going to be available, because your team is not going to be efficiently using the map. And so you're going to end up with like position 4, position 3 level farm every single game as a support at like 2-3k MMR. And that's how you impact, because you can actually carry games when you're a fucking support that has like 2,000 health and a couple items that help you impact fights.
That's a really important point. Like, I remember, I don't know who it was that I was playing with, but I recall it's like a pretty good player, maybe BSJ, something like that. But I know there are a lot of professional players that think in a way where a good Dota player is not just somebody who executes some good Dota like a robot. It's more like, if the enemy team gives you an opening to do something, you take it. And basically what Donnie is saying is, like, if your team is allowing you to get farm, even if it's not something that should be normal, or if the enemy team's letting you get farm and you take it, that is what makes you good. Like, if you can scale to become a core, even though that probably wouldn't happen in party game because your team would be taking all of the farm in the map, it's part of being a good Dota player to recognize that and say, okay, I'm a core this game.
Yep.
And it's really important to not assume that these two play, like, party queue and solo queue, are the same thing at all. You need to take every single game minute by minute, making different decisions. Every game of Dota is different. And if you can't team fight in one game, it doesn't mean that in the exact same draft, you won't be able to team fight in another game. You should never just do one build. You should always just think, okay, is there like a free lane to farm right now? Do I need to fight right now? Can we just split push to win the game? There are so many decisions that you can just make where if the enemy team gives you an opening, or if your team gives you an opening, it's better to take that, even though it's abnormal. Okay, I get a Radiance on Pudge this game because nobody's doing anything. Now you go into the late game, you have 20,000 damage and health on Pudge, and you're like this hard carry, even though who the fuck does that on Pudge? But they let you do it, so you do it.
Yep.
And it's really important to allow yourself to take those openings and not just constrain yourself to, like, this is how Dota is played.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to give one final specific example, which is when I was trying to do this little experiment of supporting my way out of the trench, quote unquote, just kind of like a social experiment. I had a 900 MMR account or 1000 MMR account and got 90% win rate over 20 games or something like that.
I just heard somebody got an 8-year ban for that, Donnie.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I don't do it. It was literally just all I had to do to win these games was I would pick position 5. I would say, I'm playing position 5. I would buy every single ward. I would buy all the sentries. I finished every single game with like 4,000 gold spent on support items, but I also had like 5 items because I ended up just de-pushing waves and pushing out waves constantly because nobody else was doing it. They were all just farming the jungle, and I made an insane amount of space for my team, and I carried games with better spellcasting, positioning, and item usage in fights, and I still had the most support items bought in the entire game, every single game. So, you know, just play support, but play it with like 6 items. You're gonna feel like a fucking god.
Yep. I just I just released this video about Weehaw playing Windranger, and for like 5 to 10 minutes, he literally just runs around pushing out waves. He doesn't hit a single jungle camp. A lot of the time, a very good way to just win more Dota is to literally just fucking push lanes more.
Yeah.
Like if you just push a lane once when otherwise you would just go and be useless in jungle, that could legit be game winning. Just one creep wave, because then you take a fight, you win the fight. Oh, great, there's a lane pushed in. We can go Rax. Or you take a fight, you win the fight because you pushed in the lane, so somebody was responding to it. Like it cannot be. It's very difficult to express how good creep waves are to push and how little low-rated players value it and how much they should.
Yep.
Like that is one of the biggest problems in low MMR is that people will hit jungle when they have an opportunity to push out a creep wave. People in high-rated games will fucking suicide to push out creep waves. That's how good they are. It's worth dying to get creep waves out of your base.
Yep.
Or to get a creep wave into the enemy base. Shit like that. It's so important.
Yeah, actually, just today. Sorry, this is very we're going super long, but I played the one game I played before doing this show. I was playing Undying, who's like obviously probably the worst wave pusher in all of Dota.
Yeah.
And we were against a Nature's Prophet, and I ended up de-pushing a lot because nobody else was doing it. And in fact, there was a moment where our team was smoking into the enemy jungle, and they started to engage in a bad fight on the enemy shrine. I said, guys, I'm not fighting here. I'm going to go de-push our top lane. And then Nature's Prophet TP'd into our base and started hitting our tier 3. And I was like, all right, see ya. I literally TP'd out in the middle of a fight and de-pushed a lane. We would have lost Rax and lost the fight at the same time. And as a result of me leaving and de-pushing the lane, we saved the Rax. A couple other people got out of the fight, and we ended up winning the game. Probably in large part because of that specific decision, where I didn't hard commit to a fight that my team was hard committing to and saved the Rax, which would have pressured us.
Yeah. To give you a kind of other example, I guess, of what like a tier 2 team thinks when they lose a game. My team played a scrim, and I won't say who we were scrimming because people hate that and it's, you know, taboo or whatever, but we lost a scrim. We've been winning a lot lately, which is excellent. And this team that we lost to, we consistently, you know, do very well against them. And we were like 20k gold up or something like that in a game against them, and we ended up getting split push. We ended up throwing and just losing the game. Well, we lost the game. I shouldn't say we threw. We lost the game. We got outplayed. And our takeaway from the game, one of the big takeaways, we had like 2 or 3 takeaways. It's usually certain plays that we want to make. Hello? Alchemy answers? No problem. That's just Ellie. I think she finished coaching or something. Anyway, so basically one of our big takeaways from the game, like the number one takeaway was somebody should have bought bots. Yeah. That's it. Like that is it. That is literally a takeaway from what a, you know, tier 2 team looks at when I don't know if tier 1 teams do that. I don't know that, but I can tell you that a tier 2 team, that is literally our big takeaway from the game is like, somebody should have had bots. We needed somebody to shove out waves. That is fucking it. All of the plays, it was like a 70-minute game or something too, right?
Right. And just all the bad stuff happened because there were waves pushed in.
Right. Out of all of the mechanical things that happen, all of the fuck ups, all the plays, all of the rotations, all of the smokes, all of the epic team fights, somebody should have had bots. We had 3 heroes that could have had bots. Somebody should have had bots. Like we had constantly had to respond to their push. And that's it. That's how important creep waves are. It's just like you actually want like one bots buyer in every game. If you just buy bots in every game and you just shove creep waves and play the dead lane, you'll legit win so much Dota. Like obviously you want to pick heroes that can do it.
Right. But
if you pick some Sand King or Bat Rider and you just buy bots and just shove the lane that the enemy team doesn't want to be shoved in constantly and then travels to your team to fight, it's such easy MMR, man. So fucking easy. People do not know how to deal with that, especially in pubs. You'll legit get like you'll get like top 200 or something doing that. People don't deal with that well up until top 200.
Yep. Totally.
Okay. Kin Ryuko says, I play a lot of support and I die a lot because of my positioning. I try to stay behind so I can cast my defensive items on my carries, but often I still get picked off because I walk too far to the front. Because of this, I find myself buying Ether Lens on almost every support hero and just try to stay further back. What do you guys think about this? Maybe I should just get a Blink or Glimmer beforehand to get my spells off. Some examples: Lich, Warlock, Grimstroke, Bane. I don't think you need. I don't think that you need an Aether Lens on Warlock. I think that hero has incredibly long cast range, and that's a waste of gold on that hero. You want other items. You want like a Glimmer. You want a Force. Even building into an Ags is kind of legit on Warlock.
Yeah.
Lich, I also think it's totally unnecessary for what that hero wants to do. You have to consider what the hero's like primary role is in team fights. So Bane, an Aether Lens is legitimately good on Bane because getting off a Fiend's Grip is a crucial part of being Bane. Like your positioning, you have to actually stand there and channel it. And you have to nightmare a certain person. And all of these things require you to be positioned in a certain way. So getting an Aether Lens extends the range where you can like stand on a high ground or stand in trees and do that. Warlock, you literally just run in, press all of your buttons, and then die, and it's fine. So an Aether Lens is fucking worthless on him because your life is invaluable. Lich, same thing. The way you want to play Lich, run in, throw out all your spells, and then you put your ice armor on somebody, and somebody becomes very tanky. Like you save somebody with ice armor, you run in, throw all your spells, you die. That's fine. Grimstroke, very similar. Like you run in, use your ulti, put your silence on two people, and you die, and it's fine. I think Bane is actually Grim Aether Lens still isn't that bad, just because it gives you like extended range.
I wouldn't completely agree. I think that you're right on Warlock. That hero, you basically just like all you have to do is just get off your spell, like your two spells. But I don't think that going Aether Lens every game is correct. I do think that it is a creative solution to the problem that you're having, and that's a good thing that you're actually thinking about this issue that you're having and trying to solve it in like a logical way. I do think that you should spend some time looking at your replays and critiquing yourself and your movement in fights, because that is something that you absolutely do need to improve. Like, if you are a good support player, you will get off several rounds of spells regardless of how much farm you have, because you will understand where you need to be standing at all times. And you'll be thinking ahead of like who's going to try and kill me and whether the move that I'm making right now is risky or not. So that's a huge part of playing support, is being able to cast multiple rounds of spells without farm. That being said, I don't hate the idea of just buying Aether Lens on a lot of heroes. You know, it solves a lot of your problems. But like I said, I think it's a crutch. It's like,
to me, it's just like a diminishing returns thing where it's not bad. It's just there are better things that you could be doing.
Exactly.
Given the main purpose of that hero, I think it's good if you can survive on Lich. I think you should try to do that if you can, but you need to first understand what the most important thing for you to do in a team fight is. The most important thing for you to do in a team fight on Lich, in my opinion, is not to get ulti off. It's not to get your stun off. It's not to get your frost blast off. It's to save somebody with your frost shield. I think that is the best reason to pick Lich. I think Grimstroke, people pick it for the ultimate, sometimes the silence, but it's mostly the ultimate.
Yep.
So if that's your job in the game, you need to do whatever it takes to get that off, whether it's having a Glimmer, whether it's having an Aether Lens, whether you can just run in and die and get it off. It's just really important that when you're picking items for a hero, you're thinking about realistically what is happening in a team fight. What do you need to do, and how do you itemize to do that? A lot of the time on heroes these heroes you listed that aren't Bane, I think that it's way more fine that you just get your spells off and you die. I don't think that it's good, but I think it's more fine just considering their jobs. And I think that's why you would lean towards those other items that are going to help you get the spells off, but also do a bunch of other shit as well. Whereas with Bane, like the Aether Lens, I legit think like Bane Aether Lens first is. I mean, you see that all the time.
Yeah, if you can be sitting in trees, out of vision, gripping somebody, you like win the fight every time.
It's so game winning. I shouldn't say it's important. It's just so fucking game winning. Yep. It's so game winning. It's really game winning on like a Grimstroke to have like a Spirit Vessel, depending on the game. You get 2 Spirit Vessels off. It's really game winning to have an Aether Lens if you like really want to get the ultimate off in a fight, or get the silence on like an important target like a Weaver or something. It just depends on how you see the team fights going. That's a really important thing to do mentally, is just like think about how the team fights should go for you guys to win the fight, and then itemize to do whatever your job is in that fight better.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people aren't thinking about how the fights are realistically going to go. An example that Nusham always used to give is that people would say like, oh, Spear Picker counters Drow because you can get right on top of Drow, and Drow doesn't like that. But then realistically, what does a Drow do in a team fight? She just sits back, and if he charges in, she's just gonna fucking gust him away. It's actually the opposite. It's like thinking Spearbreaker is a counter to Ember Spirit because Ember doesn't want to get locked down, and Ember's mobile, and Spearbreaker counters like mobile heroes. Well, no, because realistically, what happens in a team fight is the Ember presses Sleight of Fist, and you don't even need a Searing Chains.
Yeah,
I learned this today. You don't even need the Searing Chains.
It just cancels.
It just cancels.
Yeah.
It just fucking cancels. So like realistically, you have to think about what is going to actually happen in a fight for you to win, and what is going to help you do that. So against a Drow, you go fucking Shadow Blade on Spearbreaker because that's the only way you prevent the gust.
Yep. Totally.
Chevra says, how important is it for your offlaner to be your aura carrier? I often play heroes like Pango and Windranger at the 3 position, which aren't typically aura carriers. I fucking love this question, by the way. I know that Seb still picks up auras like a guard on his NP. Is that something you should be doing as a position 3 regardless of your hero? I fucking love this question.
Yeah, this is a really good question. This is MVP question.
This is something I think about a lot. And the way that I think about this is, and Windranger is like a really good example because I think Windranger is actually a decent offlaner right now. So the way that I think about this is like, okay, number one, the easy solution is like just have a support by the important like aura items. That's a fucking easy solution, number one. But let's ignore that one because that's kind of a trivial solution to the problem. So I think Enchant is another good example of a hero where like you want Dragonlance, you want these other non-aura items, but you'd also kind of like the auras. And I would say it really depends on the game. And in a lot of games, and they are good in Dota because of a certain play style on them that requires certain items. Doom is another great example where people go for the drums, blink, BKB refresher build, where you just literally itemize around like off your Doom. And I think that's pretty good. But you also see people building Crimson Guards and shit on Doom. There are some games where it's so important and it calls for those items. And I legitimately think that there are some games on Windranger where you should probably build a Vlad's. You should probably build a Blink. But basically, I solved this problem is that number one, in pubs, I usually go for the greedier option, but which is like going for whatever the general items are on here, like Windranger, for example, going for like the MKB sort of situation. Like in pubs, I'll generally do that because that gives you more control over. Or in a position where you can be greedier and where you feel like you're strong, I would say go for the regular build. But if you're in a position where you don't feel like you're that strong, you don't have that much control over the game, and you're just going to rely on your team to win the game, build the aura items. That's what I would say. And with Nature's Prophet, the reason that most people will go for the kind of like tank frontliner build on Nature's Prophet is because legitimately with the way that he plays, that's a really good build to go for. And I think Windranger could do that decently as well because she has the wind run. But I would say it basically just depends on the game. If you can be greedy, go for the general, like this is why this hero is good build. And if you can't be greedy and you feel like you're behind, you just need to be a regular offlaner. That's when you build the aura items. At least that's like how I make the decision. Because if you build auras, you're going to be useless regardless. Useful regardless.
Yeah.
But if you build into like Aghanim Scepters and shit like that on Windranger, you just don't need the damage, or you're just not snowballing. It's a fucking waste of gold, you know? It's a total waste of gold. Whereas like an aura to buff up somebody else that's owning is not a waste of gold.
Yep. I completely agree with that. I think that is exactly how you should play it. And sometimes you even need to shift like mid-game. Let's say you're snowballing, let's say a Windranger, for example. You're snowballing, you get your early Maelstrom, BKB maybe, and you're owning, and then you die like 3 times in a row because they itemize to fuck you over. Maybe now's a good time to like finish off that Greaves or something like that, you know, like help your team out a little bit. You can shift gears a little bit, and you always want to have auras on every team. I think that's safe to say. There's no game of Dota where having auras is bad. Right?
So the only like situation where there's like it's like fringe situations, but I personally think that like if you're against a heavy magic damage team, Sometimes you can choose not to go pipe and just fight when everybody has BKBs.
Yeah, that's
like
acceptable.
itemized to like situations like that. But if you don't have auras, there's always an answer for it. There's always a reason. Like the default should be you need auras on a team, unless there's a specific thing that you're doing that is a reason that you don't need auras.
Right.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, this is something I do on position 5 support a lot of the time, where like generally how 5 plays is you get like your tranquils and like a wand and a bunch of wards, and you're running around, and like that's your life for about 20 minutes, and then maybe you'll take a couple fights and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this gold? And the answer is literally just buy the aura item that your team doesn't have, or the utility item that your team doesn't have and needs. Like that's basically how you itemize, and I think that's applicable to every single game, especially in pubs where you're not going to have the coordination to be like, we need this item to solve this problem or we lose, and nobody's buying it. Just fucking buy that. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what hero or role you're playing. Doesn't matter
who you are.
Yeah.
Shadow says, was watching Jenkins stream last night. It's twitch.tv/420Jenkins, by the way. When he queued into Windranger off lane, I was wondering why you chose to go Bassi over Nulls in the laning phase. I'm also under 2K. Is Rat Dota the best Dota to climb from my rank? I would say, like, yeah, part Rat Dota, but also showing up to fights after you've split the enemy team up. I legit think Dota is I actually think Dota is as simple as that. It's just split the enemy team up from some good map movement, make a move where you fight, split the enemy team up from just being positioned well on the map, take a fight.
That's how
that's actually just how to play high level Dota. Legitimately, it's so fucking simple. It's so simple.
That's what every good team is trying to do in competitive, and other teams are just really good at counterplaying that. But in pubs, that is how you win games consistently.
People don't counterplay in pubs. They just they just fucking fall for it. They just how do you defend this tower? They go defend it, and then they fight 4v5, and then you win. It's like every single fucking game up until like 7K, you can do that.
If you just ensure that you never take a bad numbers fight where you have less numbers than the other team, you will win like 80% of your games.
Yeah. So you said, why did I choose to go Bassi over Nulls in laning phase? Basically, Basilius I was using to control the creep equilibrium, and if you have a Basilius, then you can make your catapult pushes a lot stronger. It's like it's a pushing thing. As an offlaner, you want to be shoving in lanes. If I was a mid laner, I'd go Null Talismans, number one, because I can use the courier. So that's also a reason I would go Bassi, because I can get the Ring of Protection from the side shop. But it's mainly because as an offlaner, I want to be applying pressure. Windranger is not the greatest at shoving creep waves until she gets the Power Shot talent. So I would, shove the creep wave using Power Shot and also some right clicks and pressure towers using the Basilius. So it's just kind of helping with that. Although it also recently got buffed so that it's 8 damage. So I tried the kind of rush Bassi build, and I did actually really like it. I did really like it, where you go for Tango Sal, what's it called? Sage's Mask, and then you get the Ring of Protection from the side shop. It's pretty nice just having plus 8 damage as soon as the game starts. Pretty nice.
Split push is dead. That is completely false, Kareem. Sorry. That's just completely
hard split push is, I guess, because bots, but
I mean, dude, just look at how OG beat EG today. That was not supposed to be a win for EG, and they literally won the game entirely off of split pushing. So I don't know what you're talking about.
I think he's talking about don't fight for 40 minutes. Win the game by split pushing, as opposed to split pushing until a point where you can take a favorable fight. Like literally never fighting. Sure. That is rare. That can happen, but you have to get really lucky because the enemy team has to fuck up massively, and if you're relying on a fuck up, it's probably pretty bad. But just like Dota is all about split pushing now, in the sense that like the regular split pushing, where you want to split the enemy team up by split pushing, take a fight on a power spike, split the enemy team up by split pushing, take a fight when you feel strong, and just rinse and repeat until you have a net worth lead and you just 5-mana take their base. That's like Dota right now.
Yep.
Actually, there's one step in there that happens in every pro game that I skipped because I was being lazy, but it's always force a fight at Roche, then take the base. Like Roche isn't even about Aegis. It's about the enemy team knows I have to fight this or we lose. They fight this, they lose the fight, they lose anyway. Like that's what Roche is. Roche is okay, we're ending now. That's what Roche is.
Yep.
Approach says, what is the best position 1 to spam under 2.5k? Whatever you're good at. I would say look at the heroes that people are picking in in winning with in high level pubs is probably pretty good, and just pick one that you find really enjoyable and you understand the play style of and it meshes well with your personality. I don't know. I don't think there's like the best hero. I don't know. It depends on who you are, man.
Yeah.
Try Sven.
Whatever you're best at, but Sven, Ember Spirit, can't go wrong with those two if you can play them already.
Yeah. Hawkillionaire says, should a level 6 Night Stalker be able to body or just beat the crap out of a level 3 Pudge and a techies in lane? Yeah. A guy I laned with just wanted the last hit. I was telling him to beat the crap out of them anytime they came close. So they don't even get close to the wave. Tell me I'm not going crazy. He had full mana this whole time. Wouldn't use a single spell. Yes.
Sounds like bad play.
I think Night Stalker should be bullying with right clicks. Shouldn't use spells though. The Q from Night Stalker does half damage during the day, so it's fucking terrible to spam. It's awful. If it's night, he should just dive them. He should just fight. Night Stalker just fights at night. But during the day, he should be using his high armor, his high regen, and his high base damage to bully. That's what he should do. Just right clicks if the enemy team comes to the creep wave, and then farms. That's it. So yes, you're correct. Other than the mana thing, just because of the daytime bullshit.
Yep.
How do you create a balance between? I fucking read this already, and I love this question from Eddie Mercury. Okay, so how do you create a balance between taking a break and tryharding? If I stop playing for 2 to 3 days, I get worse, and if I play nonstop, I get worse. Follow-up question: how do you improve your mentality and stay positive when you're either losing games constantly or winning and losing around the same MMR? So,
God damn, Eddie Mercury coming in with the hard hitters.
How do I create a balance between break? Fuck, man, I don't know.
Don't ask Jenkins.
Let me tell you, man. For the past, see, you caught me when I'm biased towards like positivity right now because I'm just owning in scrims, just like owning extremely good teams that I don't consider myself good enough to beat. You know, these like tier 2 teams that have qualified for minors and majors. Like, we're fucking doing very good. We're winning. I can say that. I don't have to say the exact results. I can say that. We're beating teams like that. And I think my teammates are very good players. I don't consider myself yet a good enough player to, at least I didn't think that I was skilled enough to as a viewer, as somebody that watched those teams as a caster, to be able to beat them. And you know, we're doing very well against. We're like obliterating a lot of these half decent teams, and I didn't consider myself half decent. And the reason for it, and I'm doing well in pubs. My MMR hasn't been this high in fucking years. The reason for it is because I currently have a good balance of not staring at my computer screen for fucking 12 hours a day. I think the most important thing that I can stress is, this is a me thing. I'm not sure if you have the same problem, but if you feel yourself thinking about other shit when you're playing Dota, you will play bad.
Yeah.
That is when you don't want to play. That is at least when I don't want to play. When I have these thoughts that are interrupting, I do whatever I can to stop those thoughts from crowding my brain, whether it's just like taking a walk with my girlfriend or something like that and talking about it, or sitting on the balcony or drinking tea or just chilling or taking a bath, like anything to just empty my mind of thoughts. So that's the number one thing. Whenever you have thoughts that are just overwhelming you during games and fucking distracting you, get that shit out of there. I'm pretty sure they call that anxiety. So number two, second thing, you want to play Dota when you actually want to play Dota. And I'm sure every single person in chat and every single person that's watching this knows what I'm referring to when I say this. But you know, if you go on like some camping trip or you go on some, let's say like in school, I would go on these like, you know, field trips with my classes. And I was such a huge World of Warcraft fiend back then. And probably about 1 or 2 days into the trips, I would just fucking start dreaming and fantasizing of World of Warcraft. Like, I would dream that I was my fucking character. That's how badly I wanted to play. It's like a hunger. It's like an urge. Like, you're so excited to get to your computer and play the fucking game that you love. And if you like style your breaks around getting that back and have them be as many days as it takes to get that back with Dota, you will come back and play like a fucking god. You will play at your apex, which I guarantee is like 1,000 MMR above what your like average is. Like, your apex is, and then obviously you can play much lower than your average MMR too if you really don't want to play, if you're being toxic, if you are apathetic. There's a lot of, if you're hungry, if you're upset and depressed. There's like a lot to it, but generally that hunger to play will override every other negative feeling in my experience. And that's when you want to play, is when you have that hunger.
Yeah.
I felt it for so many games. Every single game that I play, it's like the days where I'm like getting excited to sleep so I can wake up and play. Fuck, I go God mode. I just own people.
I can't agree enough. Like recently, I mean, just this week, I've probably played like 7 games of Dota in the last week. And it's not because I don't have the time to do it, but it's because if I have a tough game, I sit there and I just like listen to myself. And what I mean is like sometimes I'll even just like close my eyes and just like breathe for like 30 seconds and just like, am I hungry right now? Am I fucking tired of sitting at my computer? And just like ask myself a couple of these questions. And a lot of the time, after like a super stressful game, especially, I mean, dude, I play position 5 support. I'm herding cats the entire fucking game. Like, that's all I do right now, is I just try to orchestrate a game for a bunch of morons. That's just every single game. And so right now, my tolerance for that is usually like 1 to 2 games. And even if I win both games, if I go for that third game, and I've been so conscious of this now, is I click the play button and I'm just like, and I'm thinking, is there a hero that I really want to play right now? Because I don't want to play the hero I just played. I don't really know if I want to play any heroes. And if I don't want to play any heroes, I probably just don't want to play Dota.
That's when you want to stop playing. Yeah. When you look at all the heroes, you're like, I don't want to play any of these. That's when you do not fucking play.
Yep. And I've been doing that. And I've been keeping my sessions to like 1 or 2 games, and I've been on the climb. What a fucking surprise.
It's not about the wins, man. It's about the losses. It's about the losses that you're playing when you don't want to. That's what matters. Because if you're on the ball and you want to play, you'll win. You will win. I guarantee you.
Yeah, because you'll actually be willing to do all the hard little things that'll win you a game.
That is exactly it.
That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing.
Dota is all about the awful, shitty, boring, frustrating little things. It's about sitting there and getting fucked in the ass by a 5-roll support because you know that your other lanes are winning. And if you are in a mentality where it's like, fuck this guy, I'm gonna get him, and you feed when you're the only lane that has a potential to feed, and you fucking lose because you fed a lane where all you need to do was sit there, that's not good, man. That's super game losing. That is super fucking game losing. You have to be able to do the hard shit. And in order to do the hard shit, you have to actually want to play.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is like, I don't know. I want to talk about this just because it's so personal to me right now. This is exactly my experience, which is that I've been picking these heroes like Undying. Like, I've been playing Position 5 Chaos Knight for fun to try it out. And neither of these heroes can push lanes, which means that I have no control over whether the game is ending in a sense of being able to split push the enemy team. But my normal playstyle is very aggressive, and so I will destroy my lane, and I will get kills, and I will get rotations, and then the outer towers will fall. And then at every single game at my MMR bracket, the game stalls out now because people don't understand how to occupy the enemy side of the map and take advantage of vision and control the Roche bit. Nobody does that correctly. And so the game always stalls here. And in the past, I'd be like just doing a bunch of like trying to get smokes going, continue to try and run at them, continue to try and get pickups, continue to try and snowball. And my team would just kind of lose interest in playing like that because they're scared to walk into the dark areas of the map, or they're not playing correctly. And if I was feeling even remotely apathetic about that, wanting to move on to the next game, wanting to just like get that MMR and go next, that would just be how the game would end, because we'd continue to run at them and die. You know, a couple people would be like, oh, cool, let's go smoke. And we'd run in 3v5 and lose a fight. And it would snowball the other way. And now I've played 5 games in a row that have been 50 plus minutes. And I fucking hate 50 plus minute games because they shouldn't be 50 plus minutes, because they could be over at 30 minutes, but they're not. But I'm winning these 50 plus minute games because I'm literally just being like, all right, I guess I'm just going to go sit behind this moron who's farming this jungle camp because I know the enemy team's going to gank him in the next 2 minutes and we'll turn the fight and win this way. So now we just have to play super defensive, even though we were snowballing, even though we had the aggression potential. We have to play defensively because my team's playing defensively. And so we do that, we win the game.
Yeah. That's very hard to do when you're not feeling like playing the game. You get to 50 minutes, your morons are feeding. It's like, fuck this shit. I'm done.
Exactly.
Mentally, you
check out. You check out 20 minutes before that.
Camp has no buyback. You weren't sitting there, so you didn't turn the fight around. You fucking lose.
Yep.
Just like that. Dark Soulless Eyes says, playing 5, I generally try to rotate to the off lane around 7 to 10 minutes to fight the 10-minute bounties. I like that a lot. Help take the safe lane tower. Love it. But if my offlaner is weak, then we can't take the tower, and I find myself feeling kind of lost on how to be effective at that point. Any suggestions on other ways to play the map effectively if I can't play around the offlaner?
Is this as a 1?
As a 5.
As a 5. Okay.
So this is kind of on your cores, but you can also make this call. You can call for 2 cores to go to the same lane together. Just say, get your mid and your offlaner to play together. Honestly, it's just as simple as saying, let's get this fucking safe lane tower, guys. Ping the safe lane tower. Say, like, let's go take this. You can play around a carry. You can also just go be greedy. Like, you can go cut the creep wave or something, or you can here's something that's really good as a 5. So generally, your carry is going to not be in the safe lane anymore, unless it's like a lifestealer or jug, one of these like unkillable heroes. Generally, your safe laner is going to want to go farm triangle. If you're a 5, a really good way that you can play the map and get a lot of gold and efficiency off the map is by just sitting in trees defending towers. And enemy team will dive you, and yes, you'll feed. Maybe your team will turn the fight and get a couple kills. You're going to die a lot, but you're going to get very farmed. You're going to prevent the enemy team from pushing towers for a long time, because chances are, if your offlaner is losing, then the enemy team feels strong. They're going to want to push. Play the fucking dead lane. It's amazing to do on heroes like Winter Wyvern. Even something like a Warlock can do it. Like Donnie was saying about Undying. I don't care if you are a hero that can't do something well. If that just is the thing that needs to be done, you just need to go do it. You just need to go try and do it, and it'll be better than making a play that can't be made, essentially.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything to add?
Jesus, Hockulinaire. Good lord. Last one was more of a rant, I know, but for reals one for now. There's a whole paragraph. Okay, so generally, the off-lane, position 3, carry comes online early to mid-game and can start creating space and making plays around the map. Your safe lane, position 1, carry generally takes that space and only comes online mid to late game. That is correct, generally. But what happens if you have a Night Stalker? Oh my god! It's a fucking Night Stalker again! A Night Stalker as your chosen position 1 safe lane, and hence don't have a hard carry. Should they be active a lot earlier? And generally, that's what those heroes are good at. Or you play them as a hard carry and farm for 40 plus minutes. No, you would pick a Timber Saw or a Night Stalker or some shit like that in the safe lane specifically to be active. Otherwise, you just pick something that's better at the 40 plus minute mark. Because I guarantee you, a Night Stalker is not going to do as well as like a PL or an anti-mage or some shit like that at the 40 minute mark. Otherwise, he'd be a carry. So if you're picking a hero that's not a carry in the safe lane, it's for the purpose of, okay, they have good late game. Let's not go late game. Let's be active. Even if we do go late game, we're going to be so active in the mid game that we have map control and they can't get out of their base and we'll out farm them. That's how you should be playing those heroes, and that's by fighting. So I feel that even though they are position 1, they shouldn't just immediately mean that they're the late game farmer. Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, sometimes the late game farmer is the 2, like an alchemist in the mid lane.
Yep.
That being said, just to play devil's advocate, Night Stalker may be a carry, but nobody really knows. He's been played a carry a couple times.
I had that thought as well, because like the ultimate's actually pretty good, but that's more so of this like fringe. You just happen to pick something that people currently view as like a Timber Saw, as an example, is a hero that is just unequivocally not like a late game carry. Is that the correct usage of that word? I don't give a fuck. That's just not a late game carry. Right. He does the same thing. Everybody knows what he does in the late game, unless there's a very specific reason. And still, you just wouldn't, farm on a Timber Saw. Wouldn't be worth it.
He's never going to be able to man fight the other carry, basically. Timber Saw.
Correct. The Night Stalker maybe, but only because they fucking changed him recently.
Yeah.
But I doubt it. I don't think so. I think most people would say that's probably not a carry. And if it is, it's some weird build that like Battle Fury that nobody's done yet or some shit like that. But no, nobody has discovered that technology.
Yep.
Okay. RFX says, RFX the fucking god, says, God, if this is a Kegel's question. Omni Knight, position 5 is now 3-0 at Epicenter. Clearly, this overpowered hero will shift the meta and either be uber nerfed. How long until you start Kegels regularly prescribed? For fuck's sakes! I knew he was going to do the Kegels. every time with this guy. He's telling me to do Kegels. Okay, position 5 Omni Knight. Not a huge fan. I would assume it's picked against like a core Bat Rider or something like that. It's probably to fuck over like specific core important heroes games as a position 5. I personally just had an Omni Knight in a pub, and there was a Bat Rider on the enemy team, and they just played position 5 Bat, and then you just have this useless position 5 hero countering another useless position 5 hero. It's awful. It was completely miserable. Nothing happened in the game. We had like Enchantress Omni Knight as supports. It was completely terrible. And I would say yes, it's great to like flex these heroes to be 5s. If it's a really good game for them, but if it's not a really good game for them, I would say, you know, you don't want to just pick some like weird hero in a weird role just because like that really, I mean, hero has no stuns. Like the hero has no stuns. If there's not stuff to purge, then what does he offer? Like a heal? The heal's not that good.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the 3 games that he's won. One was with a Night Stalker safe lane core, so a strength core, who benefits from stats resistance really heavily. The other one was with a Sven safe lane core. This was VP, which also strength hero who benefits from stats resistance. He went for S&Y Satanic plus the stats resistance. So he basically just has a BKB.
Against what heroes?
This is against Lifestealer, Spirit Breaker, Wyvern, Bristle, and Ember Spirit. And then the other one was against a Bat Rider, so that makes sense.
Decent Omni games. But I would say like Omni's not a bad hero. I just don't think it's like, I don't think it's some Warlock first pick 5 material.
Yeah, definitely not.
Super punishable. Okay, so when am I gonna start doing Kegels? I already do Kegels all the time during masturbation. Anantara says, "Why are you guys so cool?" Honestly, just it's like genetics, just like mostly genetics for me. And I'm just a very sexual person, and had a lot of sexuality in my life when I was in high school. Lots of
is that what makes you cool?
Yeah. I mean, it's like just something that makes you have a lot of charisma and just have a lot of sex with real women that really existed. And that's what happened to me in my life. What about you, Donnie? You boning?
What's the next question?
Okay, the Last Crusader says, is there a way to win if you have a really bad team? Probably not. I find that if I have a good team, I never lose. But if I have a bad team, no matter how good I do, I just can't win. Well, I mean, there's a lot. This goes back to like the actually wanting to play Dota thing. If you have a really bad team, it takes a lot of effort to carry that game from the brink. You have to be willing to put that effort in. And already, if you're saying I always lose with bad teams, like you're already giving up on it. So yeah, it's hard. It fucking sucks, man. I can tell you, there's a few games that I've played in like my streak to get to my MMR right now where like we lose every fucking lane and I just go hit jungle and then I come online and like hit one huge thing in a fight and own and completely solo carry the game. And I can tell you that if I wasn't really feeling Dota, there's no fucking way I can do that on autopilot. So like step number 1 is to just think, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Just play the best Dota possible. And if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. But when you have the mentality of like, fuck, my team sucks, we're probably going to lose this because I never win with a bad team, you're just going to lose everything because you're not going to be willing to put in
Take a break. Don't play any more Dota for a while. That's my best advice. If that's how you feel. If you feel like you have no impact, and I mean, to be honest, if you feel like you have no impact in your games, then you're probably not having fun, which means you need to stop playing Dota because it's not fun for you. So just take a break until you actually want to play the game. Put in the work. Try to get better. Otherwise, do something else with your time that's more constructive.
Yeah. The Zuck says, what are your thoughts? Oh, I just spit my Coke everywhere. What are your thoughts on college team Dota? How good do you need to be in a league like that? Yeah, you can be pretty dog shit to be in a college league. I am actually an expert because I casted college league, and there's tons of like random ancients and divine players, and compared to like tier 1 players, that's not even Dota. That's some. I think you could take almost any tier 2 team and put them in a college league, and they would fucking dumpster the entire league and win the league. Like college Dota, super far behind what I wish it was at. You know what I mean? Like I feel like if it was like traditional sports, Then college Dota would be legit like tier 2 Dota, but college Dota is like tier 5 Dota right now. So
it's like tier 6 battle cups basically.
yeah, it's like tier 6 battle cup. So I would say if you can get on a college team, fucking do it, because right now it is free money, because there are like universities putting money. Universities, they're rolling in money. There's this big bubble in America. Everybody has these ridiculous student debts. They are fucking swimming in money. So there's tens of thousands of dollars to be won, and I would absolutely take advantage of that if you're in college. I've even heard of people getting like scholarships and shit like that. So yeah, go for it. You don't need to be an immortal player to do that. Like legit, I think ancient is probably high enough. Ancient and divine. That's what a lot of the players are. There are the occasional like one team will have a top 200 player and they just fucking win everything, and they go to like the lands and shit because that's enough to carry them. It's just one player being top 200.
Yep.
So yeah, I would say definitely like go for it if you're ancient or divine, and you could win a lot of money.
There's nothing wrong with just getting some competitive experience if you enjoy it. Just do it.
It's fun. It's really fun. Like it's. I mean, fuck, man, life's all about experiences. You could go to like a LAN or some college LAN. Like that'd be really fun.
Hell yeah.
Giver, man, that shit's great. The WCGs and WCAs and these like national tournaments where, it's like you're a country playing. They're awful Dota as well. It's completely dog tier. Like people aren't teams. They don't have any synergy with each other. It's a bunch of players who otherwise would never go to a LAN. It's not Dota, but it's a fucking amazing time. It's so much fun, and it's fun to watch. It's just a different experience than the tier 1 extremely competitive Dota,
Yep.
Ebert 42. Watching the majors and minors and these pro drafts with analysis are awesome, but I feel like drafting for pubs is way different due to no bans. I agree. What if anything can we learn from the pro drafts and analysis to take into our pubs? I would just say pay close attention to pick order, like when people are picking stuff after other stuff. Just because there's bans in pro matches, it doesn't take away from the fact that there's still this like pick order. Like you'll have TA picked when you know what the last pick, what the mid pick is. Actually, TA is the opposite. A lot of the time you'll pick TA. Depends on the meta. People will pick TA to force a counter, so you know that the mid hero is going to be a certain subset of heroes. Like there are certain times when things are picked, and that is the same in pubs. That's what I would say you can take from it, is like the timing of when things are picked after each other. The only thing that's kind of rough is that in pubs there's like MMR where people will want, usually they'll take like a certain role they want. The high MMR players will play like core, and as a result of this, supports have to pick first. In competitive, what'll usually happen is you'll pick like support carry or support offlaner or something like that, or these like flexible heroes. So that way you can ban out certain heroes for the second pick that you picked. Like AKA you have bans to follow up. And I guess that's just something that it's very complicated, but that's something you want to take note of. If somebody picks something and then immediately bans 2 things, that would be equivalent to picking the hero in a pub after you've already seen what those roles of heroes are. Right. You know what I mean? Like there are certain things that are in competitive that are good and pubs are not, because they're just hard counters people can pick.
Yeah. I would also say, like, if there are pro players or ex-pro players on the panel, it's usually pretty good to listen to their analysis. Like, I think as much of a meme as Kyle is, his analysis during drafts is quite good.
Great, yeah. I mean, he was a captain. Dude,
yeah, exactly.
That guy had like 10 different rosters that he took to fucking 10 different minors and majors.
Yeah.
The guy's really good.
He has a very good insight into the game.
Yep. I read on Reddit a predictive method of reviewing replays where you watch a professional replay, pause every 30 seconds to try to predict the next actions, and use that to confirm/correct your assumptions about the optimal play. That's fucking cool. I like that. Is this valuable enough that you'd implement it yourself, or is it a gimmick? Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I would definitely like to try that just to see. I think that's good. I find that a lot of the time that's the most satisfying thing about watching replays for me, is like I'll watch Zai step out of a sandstorm or something against a certain matchup, and I'll just think I would die here if I did this, and then he dies, and it's like, holy fuck! Like I actually knew what was going to happen. It's usually mistakes that you notice, right? Because like you do it in a pub and you're like, ooh, I die in pubs when I do that, and then he dies, and it's like, oh, right. So he's the same as me. Like he has some of the same thoughts that I do, where it's like he's like, oh fuck, I fucked up.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's really cool. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah, I think any sort of exercise to make it a game, make it more interesting, is probably good because people don't watch enough replays. So if you can make replay review interesting to yourself, you'll get a lot better.
Yep. Trash Can Magic says, all right, Jenkins, if we're talking mentality, how do you keep the desire to be really good at Dota when there are other things in life that are quote unquote more important, aka, he actually says Allah, work, family. It sometimes feels like the better I do at one thing, the worse I do at everything else, just like Safe Lane, Night Stalker. For me, I mean, I've talked about this a little bit before, but for me, it's just like, um, there's no fucking point to it all anyway. So it's just like I just like playing games. I guess I went through this period of accepting who I am and the fact that I just really like games and want to spend my time doing it. And for me, it was more I've always been motivated to play to some degree. It's just that I've always had these insecurities that have prevented me from doing what I actually want to do, and being able to like wipe away those insecurities by saying there's no fucking point anyway. Why be insecure? I'm just automatically motivated to just play and be good. Also, this is something that, oh god, I don't know if he'd want me to say this. I guess it's more of like a motivational thing that he said to me, but CC&C said to me when he finished coaching me, he's like, you need to not look at the top of the stairs. You need to enjoy the process of like climbing the stairs. Like you need to, if you're, and I feel like that's why getting better at Dota works for me. Is I really like the process of playing games and learning stuff, and I really enjoy that. I'm just focusing on that. I'm not motivated because I think I'm going to go to TI or I think I'm going to qualify for minors and majors. And my team is like, we're actually pretty good. Legit, I think a year ago, I would have the mentality like, oh, we can actually go to TI. Right now, I don't give a fuck if we go to TI or not. If we qualify through the opens for TI regionals, I don't give a fuck. It's more so I just am really enjoying learning. I'm really enjoying getting better. I'm really enjoying scrimming. I'm really enjoying pubbing. I'm just allowing myself to enjoy like the day-to-day actions that I'm taking, and whatever happens. I guess that's my answer. Is that I'm for me it's more so that I'm not. It's not that I'm motivated to a certain goal. It's that I'm actually enjoying like working towards that goal.
That's the secret to just being happy with what you're doing in life. Is if you enjoy the process, you enjoy the shitty parts of the process, you enjoy the good parts of the process, and the entire process is a nice even keel of like satisfaction day in and day out. That's how you get excellent at stuff. That's how you're happy in life. That is how you achieve the stuff that you actually want to achieve. So my advice to you, my friend, is basically if you're losing motivation for playing Dota, just take a break. Like I've said this many times this podcast already, but it's like, why not just take a break? Do some other stuff for a while. Like unless
none of it fucking matters anyway. Just do what you want.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like if you are on the cusp of breaking into a tier 1 team, maybe you should push harder. Maybe, it's all about a balance. Like, are you close to achieving something great with what you're doing? Something that would like maybe change your life? And if you are, then maybe you should push harder for that. I don't know. But if you're just kind of playing Dota as a hobby and you feel like you're not necessarily motivated to continue playing it because it's not fun, you don't feel like you're getting better, just do some other shit, man. Like have some other experiences, and then if you feel like Dota is a piece that's missing from your life, then come back to it with a different perspective, knowing that it is actually important to you and it's okay to care about it. Like, I don't know what else you can say about that. It's a personal thing, but if it matters to you, then you will probably enjoy the bad parts of it.
Yep. J. Cole said in one of his songs, "There's beauty in the struggle," and then he said the N-word. But I agree. There is a certain beauty in just a lot of the time you think like, I don't know, you know what they say, like the peak. It's not about like the peak of the mountain or whatever. It's about like walking up and having the adventure. Like you don't go on a hiking trip because you actually want to get from point A to point B. You do it for the experience.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the time it's easy to forget that the experience, your day-to-day experience, people feel like they're building towards something, but they never actually give themselves time to enjoy life, I guess. Actually, this is a bit of a tangent, but a few months ago, I literally gave myself permission to like be happy. I gave myself permission to feel good about where I was at. I was like, man, I'm proud of Dota Alchemy. We have a lot of viewers. We have a community of people. Like we have fucking Hawkillionaires and Trash Can Magics and the Zucks. We have people. We have these actual people that are like integral to our lives now. We have a huge community. We have a stream following. We have people who comment every single. Like this is us. You know what I mean? And I actually allowed myself to finally feel good about that after working so fucking hard from when Pugna went down, you know? Because it was such a struggle. Donnie and I were literally trying to just like pay rent. And I had the realization.
But, at least we're happy doing it.
But still, it's like we had literally no money. We're like, I was struggling to get like $200 a month to pay, to pay for like $400 of rent. And then I did like 10 coaching sessions or some shit in a while also like programming the web. I mean, it's not like I'm fucking lifting bricks or something, but it was a struggle. And I still had that kind of mentality where it's like, oh, I'm not going to be happy until I get what I'm working towards. But the thing is, like, number one, you're human. You're never going to be happy with where you're at. You're always going to want more. It's like Matumba Man when he said when he won TI, he's like, I don't know what to do now. I guess I'll just win another TI. And he was serious. He was kind of like depressed because that's just what happens if you're like focused on the goal. Like, when are you going to actually allow yourself to sit down and enjoy life if you're just constantly working towards a goal? Zyori the way that he like was phrased it. He's huge about this, and so was Carlo, our other roommate that we lived with when I was living at Moonduck. They called it like micro retirements. Like their idea of life, their ideal situation in life is where they like make a company, work extremely hard, sell it, micro retire for like 2 years, get experience, learn something new, come back, make a company, sell it, retire. Like that's the way they want to live life. And I fucking really respect that. I think that makes so much more sense to me.
That's like the Tim Ferriss way of living.
I don't know who that is, but I love the idea.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
But basically, I guess all I'm trying to say here, very, very like half-assedly and extended because it's right at the end of the podcast and I'm getting tired. But and it's hot in here too because my AC is not on because it'd be loud. Is that I think that there's just time that you should let yourself just be fucking happy with the fact you're alive, you're physically doing okay, you have a roof over your head. Otherwise if you're constantly focused on the goal, you're going to be constantly feeling shit. There has to be a balance. Anyway.
Yeah, man.
This is super tangential.
Yeah. But, so that's it, right? That's the last question.
Hawkillionaire, one more question. He says, fun one. This will be the last question we do because this has been going long. What would you both say you do best in a game of Dota?
In a game of Dota?
Yeah, what do you do best? I actually have an edgy answer to this question if you want to go first.
Sure. I mean, I think that what I do best in the game of Dota is have a global picture of what's happening with all 10 heroes in my mind most of the game. And that's why it's one of the reasons I enjoy playing support is just I feel like I enjoy the game more when I'm aware of the entire picture and can make like longer term plans. But it also makes me miserable because a lot of other people are focused at this current moment and their ideas of how the game is going is usually in huge disparity to mine. But I don't know. I think that's a fun skill to have. And that's what I do best because that's what I focus on the most.
My answer to this is something that has actually changed recently. I believe that it is a fallacy. It is it's propagated bullshit in the Dota 2 scene that you have like one style of playing Dota. I think that if you can't play a Dota in a certain way, if you can't do a certain thing in the game, it's because you just haven't learned yet how to do it or how to think in that way. But I've recently learned how to do different things and play way safer and way less chaotically than I used to. And I was convinced for a long time that I was just a chaotic player and that I needed to embrace the chaos. And I think that is one way to approach it. But I also think that the human brain is extremely capable at learning new things. Sometimes it just takes a while. And even if you, for example, aren't a mid player, learning how to play Invoker would still benefit you in playing against Invokers and shit like that. So I guess what would I say I do best in a game of Dota? My answer to that would probably be that I'm very good at like creating space, creating chaos, like getting the enemy team to overreact to shit. However, with that being said, I think that that is not always the best thing to be doing, and I try really hard to not overcommit to doing that as like a play style. Like I would consider myself as a I would want to be a versatile player, and I'm trying to be a versatile player in terms of hero picks and play styles. And I think that you can get there. It's just that you need to think about the game in a certain way. You need to have like epiphanies for each kind of style of hero. That's my edgy ass answer.
No, it's legit. Adaptability, very very good statistic to have in your life, like if that's something you can do to adapt to situations. So thanks for all the questions. This was very long, but we appreciate all the support and all the questions that our patrons are bringing. Sorry we couldn't get to any chat questions, but that's just how it goes sometimes. We saw there's lots of heated discussion in there, and I just wanted to say to you guys in chat, if you guys are arguing about stupid minutia on the internet, maybe you should go play some Dota and have some fun in your life instead.
I love the arguments. Keep them coming.
Keep those chat messages going. It's a metric that we can sell to advertisers. So, pump that shit out. All right. Until next time, we'll see you guys later.